Tie game. I would have went for two. It was what we had hoped it to be, in the sense that as you saw, we tried to do some situational work and some special teams that allowed us to shorten the format a little bit. Because we, as you know, we're thin on the offensive line, and I told that second group in particular, Woodward and Bush that moved over from defense to offense, that we wouldn't have been able to have the kind of spring unless they, stepped in and moved their positions, and they got better for us. So it made for a really good spring opportunity for us today, because they were competitive, and it allowed us to get a lot of guys some work in a game-like format. So pleased with the outcome. First and foremost, we got out of it clean, no injuries, which is always important as you look at the overall impact of a game like this. And then we had some guys step up and make plays. Obviously the very first offensive possession with Lacey being very dynamic with the football in his hands adds to, a mix of receivers that, can be obviously very good for us in the SEC. I thought the quarterback and Daniels was very efficient, played very well. I thought Garrett Nussmeier equally as efficient, and at times doesn't have the same protection that Jaden does. And given those circumstances, you can make the case that he was equally, if not better, in some instances. So pleased with the quarterbacks. And again, defensively, guys were flashing. Obviously Perkins, Omar Spate was outstanding. He gives us the kind of production that we're looking for. I thought we got, strong play, across the board. I think our safety play needs to continue to get better at the second level. We missed some tackles, but all in all, a good day out there today for us to evaluate and, take a step forward. So with that, I'll open up to questions.
If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. Yeah, Coach, you mentioned Kyron Lacey. Just what did you learn, I guess, a little bit about some of these weapons that you're going to be able to really rely on come fall?
Yeah, so Kyron, really, the work that he's been doing is much more about, consistent approach in practice. And, I think we're starting to see how that's translating to performance. He was, I think at times trying to find himself relative to where he fit. And I think he's comfortable in where he is in our rotation now. And his practice work ethic has been consistent, and we can see it in terms of the way he's playing.
You mentioned that the offensive line's a little thin right now, but what did you think of the performance of the new defensive line guys?
I thought there were some, really positive things, right? Ovia Agufu is a really good addition, certainly. I think he, we had, probably a sack on each side against our right tackle and our left tackle. I thought that, we were really clean inside. I thought we played, good, fundamentally sound football there. I mentioned Omar. I thought, his addition is going to be really big for us. He made a great tackle in space against a running back. That says a little bit about his versatility and what he can do in the box, out of the box. Perkins was really good. And, the plays that kind of stand out to me is we ran a counter, and he was able to slip the second puller and make a TFL play. And that requires training, and he's been really good picking those things up. So I think all in all, the development of Harold at the linebacker position, the addition of, Ovi and in particular Omar, those guys have been really big for us. And, they were the holes, if you will, that we were looking to fill with more mature players.
Coach Kelly right here in the front. Jaden's frame's gotten bigger now. He's up to 205. These numbers are pretty fantastic today, 10 of 11. There's a lot of time from April to September, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hype surrounding going into next season. Is that warranted? Is this going to be a major improvement from year 1 to year 2 with Jaden at quarterback?
We think he is committed to being the best quarterback in the country. We've seen that in his work ethic. I think he was on the verge of moving in that direction throughout last season. His play kind of dictated that until he got injured. And I think he's picked up where he left off last year, physically getting bigger and stronger, leading our offense, leading our entire team. He's been a leader. So I don't think there's any reason why not to think he would be, the next version of that. And that means not only, one of many good quarterbacks in the SEC, but one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Coach, physically, you got to be really good to win this league. Do you think, is it too premature to say after a year that you're there, or do you think you're close?
Well, I think we're getting closer to that. I think, clearly the area of concern for us is in depth. We're not at 85 scholarship players yet. We're below that line. So, 2 or 3 key injuries puts us in a very difficult position. We should be able in the SEC West to sustain some key injuries to key players. I don't believe we're at that point yet. If we, knock on wood, stay injury free and continue to develop, we're going to be fine. But that's not where you want to be in this league. You have to, I think, go into a season and expect to lose some key players and still win this league. So I think that's probably our Achilles heel, if you will, is that we're still not at 85 scholarship players, and it's still going to require us to keep this team injury free.
Brian, just what do you make of all the new cornerbacks that you have this spring, where that competition stands right now as you go into the summer and what you saw out of them today?
Yeah, we saw some good things, clearly, but it's work in progress for all of those guys in terms of, where they need to get to for the fall. JK and Denver and Alexander, all 3 of them are still, in that process for us in terms of weight room, in terms of the defense itself, and just a consistency of doing it at a high level. They're not there yet. We believe they can get there. We saw glimpses of it today. We saw glimpses of LaTerrence, his play today. So I just think that we're not there yet. We think we've got some guys that are capable of playing at a high level, but there's still work to be done.
Coach, if I could ask 2 quick ones. The kicking game, are there some things to sort out there between Ramos and Dibert in terms of who's going to kick? And second, is there any chance that John Emery returns to the team and plays this fall?
We have not ruled out John Emery for returning. I think I've made it pretty clear that John has a path back, but it's one that is really dictated by what he does academically. So, look, we have not made any misleading statements. We love him, but we're putting academics first and foremost, and he's got to take care of that first. As it relates to the kicking game, it's clearly not a position where we've decided on who the starting kicker is. I think Ramos and Dibert are still competing, for that kicking position. We saw today that, both of them had misses. So, we have to keep an open mind on it, and we still have to keep them competing.
Hey, Coach, with Mac Markway and Greg Penn, what are sort of their statuses? And with Ovie Gofu, how's he sort of improved since the first time you had him?
Both of those guys have hamstrings, and they're, look, I think that, could we have gotten away with Greg Penn out there today? Possibly. But, and where we're at and the progress that he's made, it didn't make much sense for us to bring him out there today. I think Mac is a little behind. He's probably 80%. So both of those guys will be fine. But they were real high hamstrings. They were probably grade 2s. So, we have to be a little bit more cautious with them. And the second question was...
Ogofu and his
Okay.
process since you last had him.
20 pounds, 25 pounds, stronger, and just a lot more football. Like, he hadn't played a lot for me at Notre Dame, and he got more playing time at Texas. And then, he has physically developed himself. So you have a mature football player here that has been in, 2 really good systems, and now he comes here, and I think he's ready to break out.
Coach, what did you think of those, if you got to look at it, those rule changes from yesterday to shorten the game?
Well, we worked on them all day today. We had the running clock. How'd we do? Yeah, so we were very intentional about it today. So look, I mean, I think that we're talking about the hope. This is not like the changes in Major League Baseball where you're going to knock 30 minutes off a game. We're talking about the clock running after first downs. But if you really, look at it, I don't know that changes structurally the way you go about doing things, So, because they're stopping the clock, in the last 2 before the half in the game, that still is really where, all the strategy, takes place. If that clock was running in the last 2, believe me, there'd be a lot of work going on around here. I think it's good for the game. I think if it can speed up the game a little bit, I think that's great. It's when the clock starts running after incomplete passes that you'll have a lot of people worried about how that's going to change the game.
Why didn't you go for 2?
Just to get some work on it. It had no merit to where it would be on the chart. We just wanted to get a 2-point play conversion in during the scrimmage.
Coach, no red jersey for Ricky Collins today. What
Yes.
was the thought process behind that, and what did you see out of him this spring?
Young quarterbacks, we don't want to shut them down early. We want to let them keep playing. So it's always been my philosophy with the younger quarterbacks to let them keep playing instead of shutting the play down early because they're still processing. And so if you let them play, it's in my opinion, it's allowed them to process the game a little bit better instead of shutting it down with a red jersey.
Coach, has time for 2 more. Chessa and then Cobb.
Coach, what did you see from Noah Kane and Trey Holly today?
Yeah, Noah is a lot. I think he might be the one guy that we might be sleeping on a little bit. We really see a different guy in terms of the way he moves. In and out of his breaks. He's a lot smoother. We felt like he was a bit choppy at times last year. We thought that he ran a little too high last year. But he's assignment correct. You can rely on him in pass protections. He's going to catch the ball. That's a pretty good guy to have on your team. And he's really worked hard on some of those physical things that sometimes, you think, well, that he is who he is. But really proud of what his progress has shown to our own eyes. And that's a good thing. Trey Holly, love coaching him. He just, he's got a smile on his face. He loves to play the game. He brings a great energy every day. And I think he has things that you can't coach. Like Sometimes you just got to yell at guys to see things. He sees everything. He's got great natural vision, can see a crease, and those things are, like I said, they're hard to coach. And I don't want to take away any of the credit that Frank Wilson should deserve, because he's mentored him as a true freshman, as a mid-year, but he's done a nice job.
Coach, you talked about second coat of paint a number of times, but how much of this is about refinement for the guys that you have had now for a year, and kind of taking that next step?
Yeah, I guess that would, the analogy would fit them, right? So that second coat of paint is for, both groups, right? That refinement, right? For those guys that really understand our process, so they can begin to refine their mental preparation, their technical and tactical. And so you're seeing guys like a Kyron Lacey that have elevated their game. You're seeing, some of our players that, like a Noah Kane, who has really worked hard on his physical development. And then some guys that haven't been in this process that are starting to figure it out, right? And so it applies to both those that have been here and those that are first in this program in January. And so I could name guys that second coat of paint is applying to refinement and understanding what it takes to be successful. Great, thank you.